When it comes to folk horror, most people always think of the standards. The Wicker Man, Witch, and Midsummer. Stories about small towns, rituals, and old gods hiding in the dark. But what if one of the best examples of American folk horror didn't come from A24 or an art house release, but instead from a late 80s creature feature? I'm talking about Pumpkinhead. A movie remembered for its monster, but built on guilt, grief, and old world superstition. The kind of story passed down like an old warning whispered through the woods. On the surface, it's a revenge horror about a grieving father, but beneath that, it's modern myth. A curse born out of the dirt and folklore of rural America. Before we get to Pumpkinhead, we have to talk about what makes something folk horror. Folk horror isn't just monsters or rituals, it's about belief. The clash between the old world and the new. The fear that ancient traditions never really die, they just wait to be rediscovered. In Britain, that meant pagan landscapes and village cults. The Wicker Man, Blood on Satan's Claw, and the Witchfinder General. But in America, that folklore takes a different shape. The stories crawl up from the dirt, out of poverty, faith, and superstition. These aren't ancient gods, they're ghosts of guilt, born out of isolation. And Pumpkinhead is one of those ghosts. It's not a story about faith and nature, it's a story about sin, and the price you pay when you call something dark to do your bidding. One of the most defining elements of folk horror is isolation, the feeling of being cut off from the world and trapped inside an older reality. In Pumpkinhead, that isolation isn't just physical, it's cultural. The film's world feels centuries old, tucked away from modern America. The small cabins, the dirt roads, the fog, it's like time stops somewhere in the backwoods, leaving a community that survives on superstition and memory. These people don't fear monsters because they've seen them. They fear them because they believe in them, and belief is what gives Pumpkinhead its power. Even before the creature appears, you can feel the curse in the air. The land looks haunted, not by ghosts, but by guilt. And when tragedy finally hits, that guilt is what calls something dark out of the earth. Every culture has stories meant to keep people in line. In the rural South, those stories come wrapped in scripture and superstition, warnings about sin, punishment, and things best left alone. Pumpkinhead fits perfectly into that tradition. A tale of vengeance, but told like a ritual. This is where Pumpkinhead crosses from monster movie into folklore. The witch isn't a villain, she's a medium. She doesn't summon the demon, she connects Ed to it. The film never explains what Pumpkinhead truly is, and it doesn't need to. Like all good myths, the ambiguity is what gives it life. The creature is born from a grave that's already waiting for him, a twisted rebirth that feels more like a dark baptism than an act of revenge. Pumpkinhead isn't conjured, he's inherited, passed down like a curse or a story that never stops being told. At its core, Pumpkinhead isn't about the monster, it's about the man trying to rewrite grief. Ed Harley's revenge doesn't come from hatred, it comes from heartbreak. His son's death leaves a wound so deep that reason no longer matters. And that's where the folk horror element takes hold. The moment emotion and myth become one. In these stories, vengeance is never clean. The act of summoning a curse means inviting it into yourself. Ed doesn't just unleash Pumpkinhead, he becomes him. Their bond isn't symbolic, it's spiritual. One man's sin manifesting his flesh. Every scream and every act of vengeance feeds into a cycle that's been going on for generations. In the end, Ed's fate closes the circle, for now. He takes the demon's place, becoming the next vessel in a curse that can never be broken. It's punishment and inheritance, the perfect symmetry for a moral tale. Pumpkinhead isn't just a monster, he's a physical manifestation of guilt, grief, and vengeance. Every horn, claw, and bump on his twisted body feels like it was carved from the forest itself. Dark, tangled, and patient. Stan Winston didn't just design a creature, he gave birth to an idea, that sin and sorrow can take shape if you call them hard enough. Unlike a typical slasher, Pumpkinhead isn't fast or flashy. It's deliberate. Every movement and every kill is a judgment, precise, inevitable, like the hand of folklore itself. He doesn't need to speak. His presence tells the story. Wrongs cannot go unpunished. And in this story, the punishment is personal, intimate, and horrifying. When Pumpkinhead first arrived in theaters, it was marketed as another late 80s creature feature. The monster, the gore, and the revenge. But beneath that, it carried something rarer. A story steeped in mythology of the American South. Over time, it was overshadowed by slashers, sequels, and the horror boom of the 80s. Forgotten by many and dismissed by most. But for those who return, it's like discovering a folktale you almost didn't believe in. Today, Pumpkinhead lives in the margins. A cult classic appreciated not just for its monster, but for its story. A story about grief, consequence, and the price we pay when we summon forces beyond our understanding. So the next time you watch Pumpkinhead, don't look for the monster. Watch the woods, watch the grief, and let the curse unfold. Because that's what folk horror is really about. Stories that linger long after the credits roll. Thanks for watching Cruel Tapes today. If you like what you saw, subscribe, drop me a comment for the next thing you want to see. Have a great day, guys. Stay cruel.